Hello and welcome to the Other 14 FC podcast. I'm Alex, Crystal Palace fan.
And I'm Tom, a West Ham fan.
And welcome back to your podcast. It's about everything not top six. Tired of your team being last on match of the day, not getting the flowers they deserve? Well, that's about to change because we're going to shine a light on all those teams in the other 14. Cool. So, Tom, how was your weekend? Did you have a hot one?
Very hot one, yeah. I went down to visit some family on Saturday. We had a barbecue, and yeah, my sister has a sort of newborn, 3 weeks old little baby Twyla. So met little Twyla for the first time. Congratulations to my sister and Maisie and Andy. Yeah.
Nice. That sounds like a perfect weekend all around.
It was pretty beautiful, pretty nice and chill, just sitting in the garden having a barbecue, and then caught up on all the football yesterday. What about you?
Yeah, I had a pretty good weekend. A really chilled Saturday, but then a very, very, very hot away end at Spurs on Sunday. I was there with my mum, and I'll get into it later, obviously, but it was just like the amount of people with tops off, and somehow that light just beams onto the away end and nowhere else in the stadium. So just
Is it?
absolutely like melting there. And I was like, cool, sunstroke's going to come by the end of this. Luckily, I took my bucket hat with me. I haven't taken a hat to a game in a long while. I just picked it up on my way out thinking, I haven't really like shaved my head, as you can probably still see. I was like, yeah, just to like hide my head.
I was going to say, you should have slapped that factor 50 on top of your head.
Mate, I got that Mediterranean skin. I always think I don't need it. But yeah, 100% do. Because I would have been like a lobster today.
It's one of those where like the sun and the heat just get trapped, and then the away end is just roasting.
Yeah, bruv. It's hot today as well in my little office room as well. So when you see me melting towards the end of it, and for all the listeners out there, I'm sweating just saying it's because it's roasted here. Yeah. Cool. Okay, let's take a break, and then let's get into the roundup of this week's games.
Yeah, let's crack on.
Okay, and we're back. So Tom, where do you want to start with all the games this week?
I think let's break it down in those teams who are still fighting for Europe. I think that's where the key interest is for the rest of the season, the rest of the short season that we have left. First, the big one, I think, from the weekend was Bournemouth v Villa, with obviously both teams fighting for some European competition next season. And Villa get the 1-0 win with Watkins' deft finish. He becomes Villa's record PL goal scorer, which is, I know you mentioned it, he was close to it last week, but I didn't realise quite how quickly he had done it, like, until I saw the comparison with Gabby Ogbonnahor, who took like almost double the amount of games, it felt.
I'm going to say it was like 380 odd games maybe to Watkins like 170 odd games.
Yeah.
It was crazy. I said last week I did like it was really quick how he's done it. It seems weird he's done it in that short space of time, because you'd think someone else would be ahead of him. But yeah, like, it's good on. What do you think of the finish? Like you said, it was a depth touch. Do you think he's a class striker that meant it, or do you think he flung his foot at it and he?
I think he's flung his foot at it, and he's not fully got the contact that he wanted to, but it's actually worked out perfectly because Kepa's completely expecting a heavier touch and a more like a stronger finish. That's why Kepa doesn't go out at all for it, and it just completely like bamboozles him to just go into that far corner. Like, he's much more expecting Watkins to get a solid foot on it and it go to the near post, so he's just caught like flat-footed when the touch is so minuscule that it just curves it into the far corner. Like, Watkins will say he meant it, but from my point of view, I think that was a lucky deft finish.
Yeah, I agree with you, because Kepa had a good game. Like, I'll go into it a bit later, like some of the saves he pulled out to keep Bournemouth in it. But what did you make of the build-up of the goal? Do you think Semenyo should have been just looking to clear his lines, or do you think you want your winger there to basically be trying to beat a few players and create a new play? I mean, 50? No, not 50. Yeah, 51st minute it would have been in.
Well, yeah, it was extra time, wasn't it? It was 45 plus 6 when they scored. Like, crazy time to be scoring just before the break, like with that much injury time added on. I think Semenyo's got to get rid of it. You've got to be aware of the situation. Like, you're unlikely to be building at that point, with half time coming so close, and where they seemed a little bit Bournemouth out of defensive positions as well. Like, they were almost ready to go on the attack, and there wasn't really anyone like ready and covering. So it was a quick like counter, and Villa were able to get the goal.
Yeah, I mean, that was pretty much the best bit of the first half, if I'm being brutally honest. Luckily, I could watch the full game for once because it was the late kickoff and I had nothing to do on Saturday. And I'm not going to lie, the first half of me was a bit like, am I going to take a nap sometime soon because nothing's going on? I think it built up a lot more in the second half, and obviously the red card made it a bit interesting as well. Did you think it was a red card? Like,
Yeah, I thought so. I mean, it's funny, I had a conversation with a Villa fan earlier who was saying that the second one isn't really a yellow card. And I was like, I watched it back after and I was like, I kind of get what you mean. Like, he's not really done anything particularly, like, bad. Or, like, it's just but I do think it's a foul. I just don't know whether it's worthy of a second yellow. It's like I guess it's stopping the counter attack, but the touch is very minuscule. Like he's really just like put his hand on his arm. Like it's not like he's yanked him or anything like that. It's like I think it was kind of harsh, but I mean the
yeah,
reaction for the first one was terrible. But
that's the thing. I think that's got to be a yellow card all day because you're stopping the counter attack, you're stopping the chance. Like that's one of the things in football that's constant. You even if it's a minimal touch, you can say the player's going at pace and everything. Like you
yeah,
know, if you touch or go near the player in that situation,
it's
they're going
not
to come down.
constant though. How many times do we see them
Yeah,
the attack get stopped and the player doesn't get a yellow card? And it's like it's so infuriating because it's like, but because on this occasion he's gone. All right, I'll give the second yellow. But happens every week that we see a counter attack get stopped and the ref will go, I'll give you this one, or
you can
like
get off of this one. Yeah.
there's so many midfielders who get away with like two in a game, and then the third time the ref is like, okay, I have to call you up on it now, and it's like, why was this one had to be a yellow card? Like,
I should have prefixed what I said with it should be the constant every week. But then I'm literally thinking back to the Palace Bournemouth game where you see like the inconsistency with the breakaway tackles there. But yeah, but I mean, what about do you think it's a just red card because of the Mings challenge on Alex Scott where he's ended up fracturing his jaw?
I don't know. This one was interesting. Like real time, I don't think it's a yellow card or a red card. Like I don't think he's meant to foul him. When you slow it down, and there's another one that we'll get onto later, the Jackson one, where when you
Yeah.
slow things down, they can look a lot more sinister than they actually were. And in this one, I think the height difference between Mings and Scott is about elbow height, like where Scott will come up to him on Mings. So for him because to me it looks like he's just trying to shepherd him out of the way, like get his body in front of the ball, make sure that the player can't just rush around him, and it's Scott's just like ran headfirst into his elbow.
Yeah.
So I don't think that one should have been a red. Like I went on my real time viewing, and I had to. I think you have to convince yourself on replay that it's a red card rather than it just being like, oh yeah, actually on review that is a red card. I think you still have to convince yourself a bit.
Yeah, I would agree with you on that one. I mean, unbelievably, both of us have played football at some point in our lives, and you do like put your elbows up in those ways, and you're not looking to be like malicious. You're just trying to like hold your space and like
Sometimes it's malicious when I do it, but that's just I'm a little bit of a dirty player. But you've seen me play, like I'm full throttle slide tackles in. So I mean, Mings is a powerful player. Maybe he has gone in knowing that he's the stronger of the two and that any contact he's going to win the battle. But I don't think it would. I think a red card would have been very harsh on this
yeah,
on
100%.
Mings.
100%. But then the one thing I couldn't really believe at the end of the game is how Jefferson didn't put the ball in the back of the net at the very end.
Oh, he's
I,
so close. I think it's Cash who puts him off,
but
and
I,
it doesn't really do it. Like, he doesn't really get the ball. I think he just puts Jefferson off from just heading it into the net.
that's it. I just couldn't work out, even all the replays I've seen, if like Cash got to it or if Jefferson headed it onto it. But then he went for a goal kick, so it is just like you say. He must have just put him off enough to just make him sky the ball over the net.
Yeah, it's weird because it's like it feels like a tap in, but Cash just must have just done enough. Whether he touch it, like gets a little like nudge on him or something, like just a bit of contact, and that puts Jefferson off. Like with headers, they're an inch out and they go completely the wrong direction, sort of thing. So I think that little bit of contact has just put him out there. So yeah, at Bournemouth, like they were pushing late on. To be fair, like they they'll probably feel unlucky that they didn't get something out of this game.
Honestly think the game should have finished maybe as a draw. Like from my overview viewing of it all, like not just going off the highlights one. So I was like, Bournemouth had a real shift in towards the end, especially after the red card, and probably should have got a go. And then Villa did really to get over the line and give themselves a real good chance of getting that Champions League spot now.
Yeah, to be fair, Villa had Tielemans out for like the first time what feels like this season. Like and as I've mentioned in previous pods, he's like been their standout player for me this season. So how they bounced back with Tielemans out was always going to be really interesting. Like Onana came in, and who's a very different kind of player, much more ball carrier, but a lot more sort of defensively minded as well. So I think the team took a bit to get used to that difference in midfield, because I don't think Onana's been starting recently either.
No, he's always been coming off the bench because I remember
Yeah,
you were saying like they can bring him and like Ramsey and then John McGinn on to like see games out. But did you see the graphic that he was basically first for Villa in all the important stats in the game, which from
but
watching the game itself, I didn't really see it happening. It's just like a kind of silent assassin approach to it, I guess.
that's what we were saying as well, isn't it? Like Villa's squad depth to be able to bring a player of that quality in who can just come in and dominate all of like the carries and like the defense, like passes and stuff, like all of those statistical like categories, to be able to come to the team and just dominate in that way, even if it was a quieter domination. Like it's not like he didn't get the goal, he didn't like pop up with an assist sort of thing, but he bossed the midfield in the way that he can. So that they're going to need other players to step up in the last couple of games of the season as they try and claw their way into the Champions League. Like this was a massive result for them to be able to do so. It puts them sixth, but in a really really good position.
Yeah, I'd agree with you. Do you think that we may talk about it all later with all the teams, but do you think that was Bournemouth's nail in the coffin maybe for Europa League or even Conference? Sorry.
I think so, because I think they've got a really tough last couple of fixtures. Like I know their next one is against City, so
I think it's City and Spurs, isn't it? I mean,
yeah.
well, yeah, it's
I don't know. It's just too tough to call still. I mean, we all know that Palace are going to win the FA Cup, so then it's probably only 8 teams that are going to get there. So you're going to get at least two of these teams aren't going to get European football.
yeah.
And with the way the Brentford are going, like I imagine that they'll be able to keep it going. I think they've got better fixtures. So
Yeah. Let's leave the Brentford talk for the Brentford game because I've got a particular Brentford fan on my back at the moment about everything that's happening. But yeah, I think that's everything in that game. So are you okay if we move on to the game at St James's Park?
yeah, let's move on to the other Champions League chasers.
Cool. So Newcastle 2-0 against Chelsea. Got a goal early doors through Tonali. And yeah, I think they kind of just bossed the show, really. I mean, we both predicted there'd be goals and it'd be kind of Newcastle and Chelsea to the sword. Chelsea didn't help themselves really in the game at all. Went in, match of the day, I think, explained it quite well. They went in with not really much of a plan. But Newcastle just did what they do well and they dominated the centre of the pitch, like dominated pretty much every area and just, yeah, showed Chelsea how a football team should play.
Well, this was a really interesting one for me because, like, the first half, how it played out, they get the really early goal. Okay, they were dominating, they were pressing Chelsea for the first 25-30 minutes. Really made Chelsea look like second best. They were really struggling to keep up with Newcastle, and then the Jackson red card happens in the sort of around 40-ish minutes, I think it was, and that one, I think it's definitely a red card. Like I think it's that was the other one that I was mentioning where in real time I was like, oh, that's a yellow card. He's just bashed into him. But then you replay it once and you go, oh, okay, he's looked at the player
Yeah,
and led with his elbow.
that's the problem, isn't it?
That's the thing. That's the other side of going, oh yeah, no, that actually on replay where VAR, because I agreed with the ref, like it's a yellow card on first view, but then you see the actual detail of the action and you go, well, yeah, he's got to go for that. But the second half, I was disappointed with Newcastle. They really struggled to to take the game to Chelsea. Like they had no control in possession. Chelsea were the better team for 30-40 minutes of the second half. Like they were creating chances despite being down to 10 men.
But do you think that's because they went down to 10 men and they had to actually get a game plan now? Because if they didn't, they would obviously have that gap in the team and then Newcastle would run them over. So do you think it almost forced them to actually be like, okay, we need to work together? And then on that like game plan, they actually managed to create some chances out of it rather than just being like headless chickens going about? Like, do you think it gave them the kick up the arse they needed?
Maybe, yeah, maybe it galvanized the team, but I think from a Newcastle perspective, this is where we were talking about their squad depth recently. They had to take off Gordon and Botman because they're both coming back from injury, and they kind of struggled after that. Like they brought on Emil Kraft, and I can't remember who replaced Gordon, but they weren't that strong once they'd made those substitutions, and they were hanging on at times, like against 10 men, and then they get the very late deflected goal from Gimaresh that
Big deflected goal, wasn't it? I was watching like highlights of it. Like first I think I saw it on Instagram when I was on my way back from the game, and it was like people going, "Oh my god, what a goal that was!" And I was like, "I'm pretty sure it's taken a massive deflection, like
huge
gone over
deflection.
the keeper." Yeah, I mean he is a top player. Don't get me wrong, but the player who kind of made that goal was Dan Burn for me, the playmaker, and it's they took the words out of my mouth actually on Match of the Day too. It's like we're just living in Dan Burn's world at the moment. Like I was saw the build up to it, and I was like, that actually happened. Did he like actually go past the player, bring it back, and then set like Kamarish up to?
Well, I think it was. I don't think it was meant to do that at all. Like Dan Burn is screaming to the free kick taker
Yeah,
to take it, and I think he's very much screaming for him to put it at the back, like back post of the box. So you can either header it back across goal or at goal, and then the free kick to him is terrible, and it like takes him back to behind him. So he has to turn into a playmaker and find Gimaresh, and then Chelsea just sat off him. They just invited him to take the shot, and then it gets the deflection, loops over Sanchez, and it's 2-0, and Newcastle and St James's Park erupts. Like,
yeah. I think for Newcastle they've got that as a fortress of a stadium now. I don't really know how they've done it like so well this year, and I guess they must have had it last year as well. But I can't see any team really going there and getting any points now this season, and it's probably why they're going to end up with that Champions League spot over Chelsea. Do you think?
yeah, I think St James's Park has been a massive part of Newcastle's run. I think the atmosphere that they generate there, there was a tackle in the first half where the crowd just erupted like they'd scored. It's such a tough place to go. I mean, it always has been, even in the dark times for Newcastle. Like it's always been a intimidating sellout place, but when the team are playing passionately and good football, it's just such a hard place to go. I mean, I definitely think that I'm. I don't want to jinx it, but I definitely think that Newcastle have sewn up a Champions League spot. I don't see them dropping out of the top five.
Yeah, I'd agree with you on that one as well, 100%. Yeah, anything else you want to take to that game, or should we move on to Wolves Brighton, where Wolves have kind of lost that form that they had since the City loss?
Yeah, yeah. Let's go for Wolves Brighton. So obviously, like Wolves don't have anything to play for except for pride and to regain their winning streak, but they lose this one 2-0 to Brighton. Again, similar to the Newcastle result, where it was like a first half goal and then a late goal that kind of makes the scoreline seem a little bit more comfortable for Brighton than it actually felt watching it. From this one, so like in the first half, the what was Cunha doing?
Like, I honestly, I saw that challenge and I was just like, it goes to the back of your head again, doesn't it? It's like maybe they would be better without him because they went on that run and maybe they were like all playing a bit more in sync as a team rather than him making a rash decision. But then he almost wins the game at an end. Not wins the game. Equalizes at the end with a curling effort, doesn't he? So it's like you see both the like really good side of him and the really poor side of him at the
Like,
same time.
why is he that deep? Like that is the for the centre mids. Why are you as the attacking midfielder dropping down into to receive the ball as almost a third centre back, and then he just like he loses the ball, and I'm shocked that this one wasn't a red card.
Yeah, that's it, wasn't it? Because they were saying like it's double jeopardy, but you got to be trying to play the ball if it's double jeopardy, haven't you? So
Yeah, he's on the floor and he's just kicked at his knee.
yeah,
You could argue he's making a swipe action towards the ball, but he's nowhere near touching the ball, and he catches the man. I think this was a red card all day.
Yeah.
I was really surprised that nothing came out of it.
But then what punishment would he get if he got another red card this season? Because what, he's had two or three already. Does the bans just keep going up and up if you get another one, do you know?
I don't know the exact rule. I think they definitely increase because I'm pretty sure if you get a second one, you get like a 4 game ban or something. So maybe it just goes up by one each time, and he'd get a 5 game ban. But it's something that any prospective buyer is going to have to look at. And as you say, Wolves may be better off cashing in and reinvesting that within the squads. Like they've had an amazing run, but they're now they've obviously, as I say, got nothing to play for except for sort of finishing position. So now they're really looking to next season and seeing like how they can rebuild for next season, so that they're not having one, they're not in a relegation battle, and two, that they can look up the table.
Yeah, I mean, I think I said this in one of our first podcasts. It's like if Wolves had gone on to win every game or not lose until the end of the season, you kind of want that bit of a warning where it's like, we need to come back down to ground. So when we go into the off season, we're thinking, okay, we need to improve here, we need to keep working here. It's not all going to be like stars and like perfection going into next season. So I think for Wolves fans or for the Wolves team, this might be a good period, like a few losses under the belts to see like we're not going to like breeze it next year. We still have work to do. So it gets your heads down, get in some good players in summer window and see where they can go with the new manager.
Yeah, yeah. And from a Brighton perspective in this one, I think it was a good performance. I don't think it was necessarily a great performance from them, but I think in their position right now, where they'd come off a bit of a bad run and they've now managed to kind of put together a mini run where they've got two wins and a draw in their last three. They've got Liverpool next, which is a tough one,
Yeah.
but they've put themselves back with this win and those last couple of results. They've put themselves back in with a shout where it kind of looked like they may have started fading beforehand. Put themselves back in with a shout of getting that 8th position. They're level on points with Brentford as we record. And yeah, what did you have from Brighton for this one?
Yeah, I was going to say, I think Brighton are showing their qualities just at the right time of the season now. I mean, that Liverpool game is going to be hard, but if I don't see any team beating Liverpool, it's probably going to be Brighton, because Liverpool going to be a bit on the beach maybe with winning the league, and Brighton are going to be up for it. Obviously, as a Palace fan, this is going to sound biased as hell, but I think Lewis Dunk not being in their starting 11 really helped them out.
Yeah, Webster and Van Hecker is a much more solid base to build off right now this season. Like, as I've said previously, like that Dunk's obviously been a great servant for them, but he's been found out a little bit this season as he ages. So they've got to be one looking to invest at centre back in the summer, I think, but two, also keeping Webster fit and Van Hecker. My one thing for this for Brighton is I'm really just happy to see Brian Gruder get on the score sheet. Like, he's a German under-21 international. Like, he sort of came. I thought he came over to the Premier League a bit too soon.
Yeah.
Like, he hadn't been that consistent for Mainz for long enough, really, that I thought he still had a lot of development in him. And coming over to the Premier League for a decent fee, he's quite highly rated as a youngster, and he's had a difficult season where he's not started very many games. So for him to finally get on the score sheet, I was very happy for him.
You could tell how much it meant to him in the celebration as well, couldn't you? Because I didn't really, I didn't know the backstory to like what a season he's had. So after seeing that, I kind of look into it a bit, and yeah, it was a nice moment for him. And then what was funny as well, I don't know if you saw the manager's press conference afterwards, but he was like, "It's hard for another German to give another German a compliment." And I was like,
Yeah.
"That's the most German thing I've ever heard."
The most German thing anyone's ever said in a press conference.
Oh, good. And the other thing I'd want to touch on from that game, which I couldn't quite believe, is for Brighton's other goal scorer. That's the first time Danny Welbeck scored 10 goals in the season, which,
Yeah, this felt crazy.
yeah, like all his time at United and Arsenal, you would have thought he would have got 10 Premier League goals in a season. Like,
I even thought he had got it in that first season on loan at Sunderland, where I just remember him like score. It felt like he was scoring all the time, but he must have got. I think he got 9 that season, and like 9 was obviously his best until this season. Which, he's aging Welbeck. Like I think with those Man United and Arsenal spells, like he was never a starter for very like consistently. So that
And he
obviously
was injury like play during it as well. But you just think in those teams, like even as a backup like striker, you're gonna get some goals in it.
could
But
have got 10, right?
yeah,
But yeah, I'm happy for Welbeck that he's got that because that guy Welbs has always been a decent, a good player. But yeah, for him to break that, it must be good accomplishment for him.
yeah, I think yeah, like you say as well. Just rounding off in that game, it puts Brighton in a pretty strong position. I think maybe the next team we're going to talk about is probably in a stronger position if we move on to Ipswich Brentford now, with Brentford picking up the 1-0 win against them with a Sharda quite early on goal in the game. What did you make of this game? I mean, my main takeaway from this, and this is just from watching the highlights, is the amount of like diving, grappling, falling in the box. It seemed every time the ball was going in, there were like three players then lying down on the floor, and I
Yeah,
just like I was looked at it, and then I went on basically see what the ref was. And I was like, shock horror! Samuel Barrett has lost control of this game completely. I've never seen it on Match of the Day for like a whole stadium to be so angry at the referee so obviously. Like I know it's not analytics of the football, but it's just they're like, my God, when they score that goal from the corner, the whole stadium was like up in arms against Samuel Barrett. What did you make of that?
yeah. This one it was crazy. This one was the mutual holding game. It was a phrase I'd never heard before this weekend regarding related to football, and then watching the highlights and everything, it was mutual holding, and why wasn't this given a penalty? Mutual holding, and it's like okay, this is the Premier League's buzz phrase for the weekend. But from this game, I think Brentford will kind of shoot themselves in the foot as being making it this close. I think they dominated for the majority of the game and really should have been a couple ahead. I think they like their finishing wasn't top, like wasn't up to scratch, which let Ipswich into the game and like Ipswich they got more confident later on, like where they're like, oh, it's only 1-0, we can get something from this, and they were pushing like later and later and they almost equalised. They had a couple of really good opportunities late in the game. But yeah, I want to shout out for Kevin Sharda. Like he scored 4 goals in his last three, 3 of them being headers, which is something that must be coming from the training ground really, because I know Brentford put a lot in on set pieces. So for Sharda to have developed a heading streak is pretty interesting.
Yeah, I think he had his debut against us, and he put in a great performance, like with his feet and whatnot. I never saw him being able to be heading goals in, if I'm being brutally honest. So yeah,
Yeah,
like I said, it's a great effort from whatever he's doing on the training ground with him.
yeah, you don't get many wingers scoring this many headers. But yeah, the header, the mutual holding. I was shocked that a couple of these weren't penalties.
But do you think it ends? And I'm not going to rag on Samuel Barrett too much. Well, I am because he basically ruined the start of our season with that disallowed free kick for Ebbs against Brentford. But do you think just early doors you set it like you set your stall up? You're like, cool, that's a yellow card to the defender, so you're not giving a penalty for it. Any more grappling, any more shit, I'll just give the penalty. And like you make a decision. Whereas each time it was like, oh, I'm going to wait for VAR to tell me if anything's gone wrong there, rather than being like, this is law of the law. So then the players, like, if they know it's going to go VAR every time, they know that they need to make as big a like deal out of it and just make it look like, oh, Stockley Park can make that decision. Would you
But
agree?
that's
With
the
my
thing.
opinion? But
I no, I agree. I think that's the thing when the VAR has developed into this is has the referee made a clear and obvious error situation, then it's a lot less likely that they'll overturn it for something like this, where it's like you could argue, yes, they are both holding each other in all of them, like they've both got their arms around. So like on replays, it's kind of hard to tell sometimes who's initiating the pushing. So you can argue that him letting it go and then the VAR being like, oh well, he's not made it's not clear and obvious because you could argue about it, but I definitely think you're right with like the players going, all right, well the ref's not giving these, like we can push it as far as possible and we'll try and we'll stop these players like the I think the worst one was Twanzebe
Yeah,
on
that's like
Collins.
a rugby tackle, wasn't it?
Yeah, like that one as well. I do think Collins has pulled it like Twanzebe's shirt a little bit, but not enough for Twanzebe to rugby tackle him literally with both arms around him and take him to the ground. Like it was a perfectly executed rugby tackle.
That's it. I'd love to go through them all one by one, but we just do not have enough time for that because there were so many. I'm certain there must have been ones that they didn't even show in the highlights, like because it was that crazy. But then, what did you make of the Wissa bicycle kick yellow card? I think we might disagree on this one.
Yeah, I think we've got very different opinions on this one. I don't think it's a yellow card.
I think it's a red. I think he's kicked him in the face with his trailing foot, and like I think that's endangering an opponent.
Yeah, but if we give that, then we're gonna lose bicycle kicks because anyone will just get their if they just put their head close, then the ref will go, oh, you've endangered him. So that's got to be either a foul or a red card in this instance. Like I just think like we don't want to lose bicycle kicks from the game. They're one of the most spectacular things to happen on the pitch, and I think the player's put his head in there. He knows the risks. Like at the end of the day, there's nothing cynical from Visser in this instance.
I,
All he's thinking is, I want to shoot and score.
you say that, but like I've been in games, and you know when the people are around you, and you know when you probably shouldn't be putting your foot that high up in the air. Do you know what I mean? Am I being? I've just always thought like
It's not like studs up or anything. He's not like actioning toward, like he's not running toward, like motioning towards a player. It's fairly understandable what Visser's about to do. So you put your head as a defender, you put your head in there at the risk. Like you know what the risk is.
yeah.
It should not. You shouldn't be sending off the attacker for it.
I don't know. I still think like if it does end up with someone getting kicked in the head, that's when it's just they're like, okay, by law of law, it is endangerment. But that's how I've always thought about it. I don't want to lose bicycle kicks either, but I just think like centre of the box bicycle kicks surrounded by people. That's a bit reckless to me. We're not going to agree on this, are we? I knew we'd
No,
disagree on this from the beginning.
I'm firmly entrenched that I don't think it's even a yellow card.
Really, I don't can't agree with you on that one. But no, if we move on to maybe Ipswich a bit as well, like I know they stayed in the game, but I think I said last week I was expecting them to have like one big performance before they go out. The beginning of the game, if and Boomer gets 1-on-1 he goes in for, you think
Yeah.
he and Ipswich are kind of going out with a bit of a whimper at the end of the season, which is like the last thing you kind of want to see from him. The only like bright spark I saw from was Hutchinson was looking a bit lively for him throughout the game, putting good balls in, causing a bit of trouble on the wings.
Yeah, Hutchinson's been a decent player. I think it's been a learning experience for him this season. I don't think necessarily he was ready 100% for the Premier League.
No, he definitely wasn't. I was thinking he was injured for most of the season, but I think he just hasn't been. He hasn't played like all the games, has he? I think he's racked up maybe like 27 out of the 35, 36 this year. So
Yeah, like very talented player. I think another one of those similar to someone we were speaking about, El Canus, we were speaking about
yeah,
last week, where like a season in the Championship again, just to sort of like as he progresses, a bit more development, that could do him sort of the world of good, and then he might be ready for the Premier League. Like I think one thing we sort of should remember about players is like development isn't linear. It he's not just because he's played in the Premier League doesn't mean he has to play in the Premier League next season. He can go back to the Championship, learn more, but get a bit stronger, and then progress. He's still a very young player, but he's had a good season, not like an incredible season.
yeah, I can definitely see that. A bit more muscle on him, and just a bit more playing time. Really, you think that player could come good. But yeah, anything else you want to touch on the game? We should go to a little break, and then we can pick up teams that drop points, and then some other results from the other 14.
Yeah, let's take a break.
Nice. Hey, and we're back. So yeah, what game do you want to move into first from the remaining games we have then, Tom?
Let's go to one of the teams trying to chase for Europe who dropped points and Fulham losing 3-1 to Everton at home. What did you think about this one?
Yeah, do you know what? I really enjoyed watching this game. I got home like just in time to catch the beginning of this and watched it all the way through. And to begin with, I was like, okay, so Fulham obviously wants to have someone to play for. They're showing it. They're probably gonna do what they did to Liverpool and maybe run away with this game a bit. And then they got Jimenez goal quite early, and it just looked like a really quick start for them. And then conceding that goal just before half time, it let Moyes do what Moyes does best and just take over the game in the second half. It was really like it was a very balanced game, but then in a 3 minute period, Keane and Beto take the game away from Fulham completely and kind of shatter their European dreams for this year, I'd say. Would you agree?
Yeah, I think this was a little bit smash and grab from Everton.
I think no, I think that's a bit harsh, smash and grab maybe. I think Moyes played it out in the Moyes way possible. Do you not agree?
Yeah, I suppose so. It's one of those that like you keep yourself in the game,
Yeah,
and eventually you'll come into and you'll get some chances. But Fulham like dominated this first half, like especially down that left side with Iwobi, Sessegnon, and Smith Rowe getting involved, which hadn't really seen recently as much. So it was nice to see. He did some very nice things. And they get the goal, and you sort of I thought they'd kick on from there.
yeah.
Like they were creating quite a few chances early on. But yeah, I think you're completely right. Like that Mikalenko deflected goal,
Lucky goal, wasn't it?
super lucky, completely wrong foot Leno. Like Leno's got no chance with it. But that's such a tight like it's such a cliche, but scoring before half time really changes everything for you.
Yeah, and I don't think it helps it. I think Fulham had 6 injuries or six like main starters out for the game. So you just think the more the time went on in the game as well, getting their heads down half time and then taking them into the second half, they were probably always going to tire, probably not have the players to come on to really help them push forward in the game. And yeah, I think that's what showed really. Leno makes a big mistake for Beto's goal. The Keane goal just coming from a corner. It's probably the exact goal you expect Michael Keane to score if he's ever going to score a goal.
Never going to score. It's going to be from the back post header, just absolutely just coming in, just like Ralph Wiggum through the window, just head first,
Just back.
just smash it into the goal. Just take he could because he completely wipes out Leno after like he just falls over him, and then like all the Everton players are off celebrating, and then he just comes up like 10 seconds later and just like yeah.
I don't know if you saw as well. So I had troubles with tickets for Fulham my whole time supporting Palace. Like again, I think I don't know what we spoke about in here. Like the FA Cup semis had dreadful trouble even trying to get in there.
Yeah.
But if you saw after Keane scores behind the goal, you see some Everton fans jump up from like you expect to be the Fulham end. So what I've heard is like they have a joint concourse in the away end there. So like home, I don't know if away fans are meant to be allowed to sit in that bit, but I just thought it was a bit weird seeing like quite a number of blue shirts like jumping up like oh in that bit. So yeah, if there's any Fulham's fans out there that can like confirm what that bit behind the goal near the away section is, would be great to know what actually happens there.
Yeah, and then we'll just touch on it again. The Beto one that you mentioned, absolute howler from Bern Leno. Like such a usually trustworthy goalkeeper, he's going to be having nightmares about this one.
Yeah, he really is. I mean, if we go to the other end, I think Jordan Pickford showed why he's England's number one as well throughout this game. The top save for me was the Harry Wilson little lobby goes for on half volley. And
Yeah,
it's an
that was a really nice save. Pickford's a funny one. I'm not his biggest fan, but he does have a good shot stop in him.
why are you not his biggest fan because he's a shithouse? Or you not his biggest fan for he's just a bit like erratic with what he does with the ball at his feet.
It's mostly because he's got T-Rex arms, and like sometimes I just feel like his arms are a little bit too short for a goalkeeper, and but then also 100% because whenever he has to pull off a save, he screams at his defenders like, "Why have you made me do my job? You're the worst defense ever!" Like
It's
he
that
looks
Joe
like
Hart thing,
he's
isn't it?
berating them.
That Joe Hart syndrome thing where they just scream at everyone for no reason.
You're gonna have to make a save at some point, mate. Like we're not gonna keep them out for 90 minutes. And Pickford's like, no, that. What do you think I'm here for? What do you think I've got gloves on for? To make saves? Are you crazy?
Oh, I love it. What did you make of the penalty shout at the end?
I think it's too close. I think like Traore is very close to Mikalenko, so the pace and how hard he hits the ball. I think it's really hard for Mikalenko to get his hand out there, and it's not like it's in an unnatural position. I think it's in a running motion, and it's so close. So for me, it would have been really harsh
I don't know. I feel like we've seen them given, like I feel like we've seen that penalty given 100 times this year, and that's why I'm just there, like for consistency's sake. Like,
But like if we like this was like the West Ham one last week where Davies was doing the same motion, but there was like 10 yards between them.
I'd say that this one's. Oh no, it's hands a lot further out than it was the Davies one. Do you know what I
Yeah,
mean?
but he's running, but he's so much closer.
Yeah, maybe. Oh no, I'm just. To be fair, we probably shouldn't touch on it because it was, for context, it was like the 95th minute, wasn't it? So
Yeah, I
really
don't think it
didn't
was
matter.
going to change anything, but no,
Yeah.
I agree. I agreed with Moyes on that one. It was nice to see the referee ignore the technology and the advice from the VAR and stick with his decision because yeah, I don't think it was a penalty.
You wait until the referee does that against West Ham or Palace, and we're
I'll
absolutely
be
going to
fuming.
right. Oh man, but yeah,
You think this is a
do
balanced podcast?
you think that's Fulham's European hopes done now? I'll probably say it
Yeah.
is now.
Yeah, the form that they've been in, like 4 losses in their last five, they've got Brentford next. Like, if they don't win that, I mean, even if they do win that, there's only 6 points left to play for them. It's going to be
Yeah,
really, really tough for them to get one of those. I don't see it happening with four teams in the mix as well. So yeah, I
yeah.
think Fulham are going to rue that one. Maybe, as you said, the injuries have taken their toll. Maybe Europe was a step too far for them this season.
Yeah, I think it's way too much for him to do. Just because we're now at the end of like all those teams in European places for Europa and Conference, who do you think are the most likely to be getting those out of who's left? Are you going for Brentford, or are you going for Brighton, or are you
I'm,
going for?
I'm going for Brentford. I think they've got the best run, like the best form. If they beat Fulham, then I think they'll pretty much have it sewed up. They've got a slightly better goal difference. I think. Yeah, my money's on Brentford.
I've got a particular Brentford fan at work that you may remember offering me pints at the moment if we throw the FA Cup final so they can get Europe. And I've just replied with, "We've already given you 6 points, mate. We can't give you much more."
No, we're Palace are winning a trophy this season, and that's all that matters.
Yeah, I still don't understand if we knock eighth out and then what is it, seventh get Conference League and we get Europa. I need to dig into it more, but it's all confusing to me.
The permutations are too much, and they change every week. I get my head around it 1 minute, and then the next minute someone wins, and it's like, okay, well, what does that mean now?
If we can win the trophy and not get Europe, it'd probably be better because we're going to get relegated if we get Europe. Our squad is way too thin. But yeah,
Well, you get Europe if you win the trophy, so
it's going to be a poison chalice, isn't it?
yeah.
We'll talk about that more in the previews anyway. So, moving into Forest Leicester 2-2, a real dent in Forest's Champions League hopes, would you say?
Yeah, definitely. The defending for the equaliser for Leicester is just poor from Forest.
Yeah,
Like,
the second one, it's
yeah, they're
diabolical.
jumping right to the end, but it's the big thing about the game. Like they're winning the game with what 10 minutes left. Buonanotte scores in the 81st. At that point, you're 2-1 up. Like you've struggled for form lately. You need to be seeing that game out, and the way it opened up for Buonanotte and the way he was able to get past, I think it was Milenkovic. He did like a step over and just like glided past him. That that is a symbol of Forest's recent form that they've almost lost that defensive edge that they had for so long this season, which is probably understandable. They were probably outperforming like their expected goals, where their defensive was just incredible for ages. They've obviously lost Murillo now, so like yeah, a tough one for Forest to take.
A bit of me with that equaliser was a very reminiscent of a goal you'd see like last day relegation, like where you're really anxious and you're trying not to do anything wrong but be overthinking everything. So they commit the two men first off, don't they, to Vardy, who then knocks it round the corner, and then it is just an open space, goes past one player, slots it away. Something about that just reminded me of like Championship last day vibes where I've been there with Palace, or even like watching it with my Forest mates one days where they need to stay up and it's just anxiety. And I feel like the whole of Forest, like not just the players, I feel like the fans have had this anxiety for about 2 months now, and it's really seeping in. And you see it all boil over a bit with the owner coming onto the pitch and giving Nuno a few words. I don't think there's much wrong with that. I don't know if you have something against that. I think he's just showing a lot of passion, and I don't think he's probably said anything too out of pocket to Nuno in that scenario either. It's not like he's like berating him. He's just like probably having a go that he's angry. He's just, I think Nuno said it quite well. Football's emotions, isn't it? So you just feel
Yeah,
that's sort of flowing.
yeah. I mean, Marinakis is a passionate guy. Like you can tell that he proper like his emotions are involved. He's a almost like a proper supporter. Like I know he's probably not got a long history with Forest, but he does with like his home team Olympiacos and
Yeah.
that, and he's one of those that probably kicks every ball from the stands, and he's got every right to be frustrated with the disappointing end to this game. I don't think unless he starts making rash decisions like sacking Nuno because he didn't like get Champions League football, then you can start looking at him and being like, all right, is this a fit and proper owner sort of thing? But for him to just sort of like come onto the pitch and confront Nuno, get his emotions out, I don't think it's that bad. It's if something negative came from it that I would start taking a look at it.
Yeah, with the fit and proper owner stuff, like not having a dig at him because I mean he looks just like me, but I was thinking maybe he was going on to congratulate Nuno because now he's not going to do anything dodgy about owning two Champions League teams. Because
True.
there's a big like conundrum what he would have to do because he's not going to sell his part in Olympiacos, is he? But he'll go into some different role at Forest, maybe.
They'll find a way. They'll rebadge his give him a new title, and it'll have the exact same power.
Yeah. Well, for Leicester point of view though, where have they been like this whole season? You saw El Canoes like played a big part in their first goal, hit the ball really sweetly, and then I didn't notice the deflection it got, but Sells to actually make that first save is world class from him, and then Connor Cody backing it up. You'd think if Leicester had shown this much, well, these balls earlier on, they probably would have had a chance, and Tottenham United would be in a bit of trouble now.
Yeah, it's a little bit too late, isn't it, for Leicester? Like, where as you say, where has this been all season? Uh, you can't just turn up in a local rivalry match and then it start to mean something when relegation's already confirmed and you're just going through the motions. Like this Leicester team would have had a fighting chance, but they haven't. We haven't seen this Leicester team perform like this throughout the season. So it's a meaningful point because of it being a local rivalry. But at the end of the day, it, it's not much more than local pride to be able to sort of like say during the work week like, oh, we got one over you, dented your Champions League's hopes sort of thing. But from a Leicester point of view, like you're clutching at straws really, aren't you, to try and like savour something from the season.
Yeah, you really are. To be fair, like give the fans their dues. Like when that Chris Wood goes in, stereotypical Chris Wood goal from like a Morgan Gibbs White, like long ball over the top. The limbs like in the Forest end was just incredible.
I don't think Forest have been doing this that much recently, like getting the ball early onto Chris Wood's head, and I think that's partly why Forest have and Chris Wood have had a bit of a goal drought. Like this was only the third goal that they've scored at home in the last 6 matches.
Really, jeez, I did not
Yeah,
know. That's crazy. I didn't think it would be that low. I know he had a bit of a drought, but jeez, that's
yeah.
insane. But no, but then the limbs as well for the equaliser for the Leicester fans. Like, give both their fans just their credit. It looked unbelievable, like ends to be in down there. My only other thing to touch from this game, a bit of a, I guess it's a mute point now, but the late offside call for Arnie where he like gets himself
Oh yeah, he smashed into the post.
yeah, and it was like clearly it was Alanga was clearly offside. Like, do you flag it or do you play on? Where do you sit in that one? Because that's I think what causes the massive issue with everything at the end, where our knee like puts his thumbs up and he can come on, but apparently he can't like basically run after that point. Do you think they just flag or do you think they stick to the letter of the law, where play the game and see what comes of it?
I think there needs to be some common sense involved because quite often you'll see one that is so clearly offside, but they keep it down and wait for the play to finish, and then they'll put it up, and it's like I get when it's close and you do that because then I'm like fine if it is really close, keep your flag down. I'd rather see the play develop and then they can come back and correct it if it was offside. But sometimes you just see it and you're just like the linesman's got to be doing a better job there.
Yeah.
But also it's almost like the technology has let them like relax a bit with it. Like they don't they're not necessarily worried about the player safety element of it because they're just worried about it from their point of view of getting the decision right. And it's like, well, if I don't make the decision, I've always got VAR to come back. So essentially there's no risk with calling offside anymore. So the linesmen don't do it really.
Yeah, and I guess if they did call it then they're probably again Forest fans on their back about like not letting Alanga like run through. Like, yeah, I guess it's just one of those edge cases where someone's actually got injured from it, and then it's just a bit like, is it a sensible rule or not? But yeah, I guess you're right on that. Anything else you want to take from that game? I know Leicester nearly had a winner at the end.
Yeah, I'll just mention it. Jeremy Monga, 15 years old, almost won it for Leicester. I just want to say on it, like, he seems like a talented young player. I worry about young players playing football this much. And to be fair, if they're managing his minutes, which are, from what I've seen, he's just sort of come on the last sort of 10, 15, that's okay. But similar to like Lamine Yamal, I'm worried about players playing this much so young. Like Pedri did it for Barca a couple of years ago, where he played like 50 plus matches in a year, and he just absolutely like his muscles just obliterated after that, and he had to take like almost a year off. And you saw it like years back with players like Theo Walcott and stuff. Like they burst onto the scene, and then their careers over by like 28, 29 sort of thing.
Yeah.
And like for a 15-year-old to be playing in the Premier League, it's a fun story, but it just wants to be careful and manage his minutes. But
Yeah.
he almost gets the goal in this one to win it. So clearly a talented player.
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean. I feel like the only exception to that, and you can tell me if I'm wrong, was Jude Bellingham playing quite young, and he seems just to be going from strength to strength with it. Or did he not start that young?
I don't think it was that quite that young. I think his first starting season was age 17,
What?
which still quite young, but
Yeah, how old was he when he came to Dortmund for you guys?
I think it was still 17 when we
17.
bought him.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a lot better than 15, isn't it? It's got time for muscles to grow at least. That's the thing.
But that's the thing. Jude was a full, like fully grown by that point, whereas Monga still looks like he's got
Yeah,
got some growing to do.
got some time in the gym to go. Yeah. Anything else you want to touch on that game, or should we move on to a great away day for your lot?
Yeah, let's move on. West Ham 2-0 Man United away win at Old Trafford, the first since 2007, and Carlos Tevez goal.
See, we mentioned that last week, and like, yeah, we got it going for you, mate.
We did, yeah, yeah. It was a good jinx for it. I mean, this one was a good, solid performance, but not necessarily setting the world alight. I think for like the opposition mattered in this one. Like Man United are not a good team; they were poor. I think if we had let a better team get some of those like put into some of those positions that United did, then we wouldn't have kept a clean sheet in this one.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, like we were good, we were pretty solid going forward. We sort of controlled a lot of the game in and out of possession, and yeah, I just have to say Wan-Bissaka is unbelievable.
How literally, I think I put in my notes like, what am I watching here? He doesn't do that. He never did this shit for Palace, and yet I'm seeing him assist the second one and pre-assist the first one by like running up the wing and then running into the space. And where's he learned to do this? Did he spend his time at United just like training like how to attack, and then he's gone to a club where he's defending and attacking now, and it's like, oh, it's all clicked for him. Like you guys have
Maybe.
got an absolute like world beater there, I think.
Yeah, he's our hammer of the year for sure. Like it's not been announced yet, but there's no way he's not winning it. Like the way he gets up and down the wing, and in this one he's actually playing on the left side as well. So like he's showing such versatility to be able to play on either side, make excellent spider-like defensive like tackles, and then also getting the sort of like awareness to seek out Bowen for the second one is really intelligent because I'm thinking 99% of players are taking a shot from that position and probably hitting one of the bodies that is rushing back to block him. But the way he just like looks up and just passes it like directly through the bodies, and Bowen's got an absolute tap in, is just really really nice. And yeah, we've got an absolute player on our hands there.
You really do. Like, just yeah, I'm jealous. I wish he'd come back to us. In all honesty, if I knew he could do that. But yeah, and then just a few things I want to touch on. Do you think the your first goal was a lucky touch or a good finish by
I think
Suchet?
it's a good finish. I think like I think Souček's meant it. I think it obviously gets a deflection after he's got the touch,
Yeah,
but I think Souček's meant it. I think one thing about Souček, he's an interesting player. Like he doesn't do a lot on the ball, but he's so clutch, and he always comes up with goals that it's like you almost put him in your team just because of how clutch and how important, like how vital the goals he gets are. Like this one really settled the team. Like once we got that first goal, it was okay. Like we can do this. We can win this game. Like United aren't anything. We can definitely put ourselves to the forefront and win this one.
Yeah, that's exactly what it's like looking from the outside, I'd say. I mean, we could touch on Kudus and Bowen playing as two up front. Do you think that made a big difference for you guys, or do you think it was just a bad team you were playing that wasn't like really wanting to play the game either?
I think it's one of those. I think it's an interesting setup for big away days, and obviously United aren't very good, but our best performances this season under Potter have been away at the Emirates, away at Anfield, and now away at Old Trafford, where Kudus and Bowen, I believe, have started as the top two in those games, which is a lot more of a counter-attacking front two than you're going to get with a full Krug or someone. And then in this one, we didn't have Paqueta, so Souček played that attacking midfield role, which definitely made our midfield a lot more sort of solid, having Ward-Prowse, Souček and Rodriguez played in this one, so like three proper centre midfielders, but also allowing Souček to be able to contribute going forward, which he's so good at. I don't know if Kudus Bowen as a top two is a long-term tactical solution, or whether we should be looking at alternatives. I mean, I doubt Kudus is even here after the summer, so it's probably one that's a short-term solution for me.
Yeah, that's fair. Well, at least you got a positive note to basically go into the summer break with now, because it has been a bit all doom and gloom the past few pods for you.
That's the thing. We needed a result more than any sort of performance, and this one, and we got it.
Yeah, that's literally what you said, actually, because I was editing some predictions. You're like, don't care how we get it, just get the result.
Just get the result. The performance was okay, the result was even better.
Yeah, nice, cool. Then moving on to our penultimate game to round off for the week, Spurs Palace. I mean, we've created this podcast not to talk about top six teams having off days or being bad, but I'm going to go on a mini rant here. That is the worst display by a football team I've ever seen in the Premier League. Spurs were shambolic. It was shameful. It should have been 11-0. It was pathetic. Like, absolutely pathetic. You can have whatever leg you want to stand on. Both of us have finals coming up. One team put a team out to go play football. The other team didn't put a team out to go play football. It was like a bunch of randos turned up to play a Premier League team. That team wouldn't have scored a goal at Hackney Marshes on that Sunday. And that's... Honestly, if that's all we want to talk about that game, I will, because it was embarrassing for them.
No, we'll give it a little bit more, but I completely agree with you. I didn't watch this one live, but I was watching back the highlights, and I honestly don't know how it wasn't 5-0 at half time.
The VARs were constant. It did.
All right, well, that first one, I don't really understand how it's offside. Like
No.
He's in his own half, but his arm is in the other half. Mateta's arm, that is, and then they give it offside. I don't understand that one.
It was mental. I think we had the ball in the back of the net 3 times, all of them not given. So basically, because it was so hot in the away end, me and my mum were like, okay, we need to go in and get the shade. So we went in at about 45, I think. We usually stay to the end. We went in, as soon as we went in, all we heard was the goal from Ebb, so we ran out and who scored, what's going on? And they don't get the replay, so I was like, that was bound to happen. We sat in that heat, sweltered away, but then came out on time for the second half, and then the second goal goes in, and usually you're thinking people are throwing beers up in the air when someone scores, because it was so hot, everyone had water. It was like being like an Ibiza pool party with everyone throwing the water up, and for
nice and refreshing, thank fuck.
Once you're there, oh, thank God it's not piss or beer, just water that's hidden me, and I got drenched, I was like, yes, this is perfect.
One player I have to shout out in this match, obviously Eze gets the 2 goals, but for me, Daniel Munoz on the right hand side, he just had acres of space all day long, and it was just every attack, they were almost all starting from the left, and they'd look over and be like, "Oh well, I'll just pass it over to Munoz. He's got 45 yards to run into." Like,
There was just no one defending him. It was a
no,
joke for the whole game. Like, so many of our goals were just like, oh, put over to Munoz and he'll put it across the box, and it was just, it was unbelievable. And like I say, we should have had so many more. And then yeah, just springtime Ebbs is showing up. If anyone's sad enough, go look into Ebbs' stats each year, starting from when the sun comes out, and it's a different player altogether. But yeah, cool. Yeah, like I said, I could have stopped after talking about how embarrassing Spurs were, but I think that's everything. I want to clock off from that game. So if we move on to our last game to round off, Saints Man City 0-0. I think a really strong, resilient performance from Saints to get the point. I think you have your own rant that you want to go into about this game, so I'll let you take it away.
yeah, I know. We've said we're not really going to talk about nil-nils, but after hearing Ruben Dias's comments, the Man City defender after the match, I just think I have to sort of say that they were absolutely pathetic from him. Like, they Saints do not owe you Manchester City anything. They don't owe you any sort of play style. They don't owe you any sort of entertainment value. The only people that Saints owe anything to is the Southampton fans. And they've had a rubbish season. They've tried to play open and expanded. They tried it against City earlier in the season and got battered. And I have no problems with Saints going, no, we're not letting you in this time. We are going to defend our goal to the absolute teeth. And it's funny. It reminds me of a West Ham 0-0 against Chelsea like 10 years ago, where Sam Allardyce was in charge and Mourinho was on the other side of other technical area. And after the game, the press conference, they said to like Sam, like, "Oh, Mourinho's not happy," and Sam was just absolutely howling and was like, "Ha, ha, ha, I've got one over on him. Like, he hates it." Like, and that's just what it felt like. Like, Saints, they got the point that they needed to get clear of Derby's record. That is all that mattered for them in this game.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry, Ruben Dias, they don't owe you anything. You can go back to Manchester.
See what the Southampton socials put out as well.
Yeah, that's the thing. City had plenty of chances.
Yeah.
It's not like they couldn't have scored. Like,
Yeah.
like look at your own team rather than Saints blaming the opposition there.
Yeah, for anyone that did see it, it's basically Southampton putting out, oh, so we didn't want to play. And it's just City, like, long balls over the top going out, missed headers, like passes going out. Just, it was absolutely class from them. And I'm happy Southampton had a good day for it. And realistically, if you respect the point, you get 38 points, draw every game. You've got a chance of staying in the league. So,
Mate, if this Southampton team had been like had this in their wheelhouse earlier in the season, then who knows? They might have had a bit more of a fighting chance, but. Yeah, at least they got off the Derby record for Saints fans.
yeah, exactly. Cool. Okay, let's take a little break, then we go into peak Barclaysman and predictions for the week.
Let's do it. And we're back, and this week's Peak Barclaysman is brought to you by Alex. Who have you got for us?
So I have a Trinidad and Tobago international that's graced the Premier League at pitches such as St Mary's, Stadium of Light, and the Britannia. I have Kenwyne Jones, a big, bustling striker who scored quite a few goals in his time for his amount of appearances, but I think honestly probably best known for some of his celebrations, if we're being honest. What do you take away from your time watching Kenwyne Jones back in, the 04 season to 2014, his time in the Premier League?
Yeah, most iconic for me is Sunderland and Stoke stop-offs. He was a proper big man centre forward. I was reminiscing about him watching the highlights, and the headers that he scored were
So many headers.
so many headers, and so like unstoppable at times. Like the way that they just flew off his head. They were in the back of the net before the keeper had even started diving. Like there's so many headers, and also he liked a shot from around the edge of the box as well. So like in general, I would have classed him as a poacher, but he did have a sort of lethal shot from the edge of the box in his wheelhouse.
You say lethal shot, but I feel like I was looking back at it. In my head was like lethal. I was looking back at some of them, like I feel like he mishits the ball every single time, but it still finds like the bottom corner or like away
It's
past
also
the keeper.
It's also probably one of those that the highlights make it seem like he scored all the time, but he probably took like four of them every game and scored one every like 5 or 6 like one. They probably were quite frustrating for the fans.
Exactly that. If we look at like appearances, he had 195 Premier League appearances, 40 goals and 14 assists, which I think is a pretty good return judging the teams that he was playing in. Like one of them being like a Stoke City Tony Pulis team that he got to an FA Cup final with him in. So he was basically like their perfect front man being up there. I think he like set the groundwork for when Pulis came to Palace and got Cameron Jerome in, and I think he would have been praying if he could have got Kenwyne Jones in instead, if I'm being brutally honest. But yeah,
Yeah, he had a decent partnership with Ricardo Fuller, I believe it was, in his Stoke time. I mean, you mentioned it. The celebrations were iconic, and watching them back was a fond memory. Like the front flips, it was almost like he was going to do damage to himself. Like he's like a proper gymnast.
such a big man being able to move like that as well. You just don't expect it, do you?
It's proper noughties as well. That kind of celebration, like the Loire Loires, I think, of the world, and that like yeah, Kenwyne Jones, proper Barclays.
Yeah, and then he had 91 caps and 23 goals for Trinidad Tobago. Went to the Germany 2006 World Cup with them, and then from time with Trinidad and Tobago, he actually went on to manage the women's team, which didn't expect to hear coming out. But yeah, for the odd fact, I would say this week, we have Pighead Gate. Have you heard about this one before, Tom?
I did, yeah. It was interesting researching this up earlier. So why don't you tell us the story about Pighead Gate?
So Pighead Gate, Kenwyne Jones comes back to his locker at Stoke City to find a pig's head wrapped up in like clothes in his locker, and later finds out it's been part of like a prank war that's been going on between Glenn Whelan and Jonathan Walters, I think. And yeah, to say it wouldn't have been the prettiest sight and everything, but to get him back, Kenwyne Jones put a brick for his teammate's car.
Yeah, he bricked Glenn Whelan's car. He later apologised because Whelan wasn't responsible, and he found out that Jonathan Walters was the person responsible. But it was proper naughty's time, I think, that because nowadays I think you'll have a lot more sort of like sensitivity, and a lot of I think players will be a lot more sort of like got their heads screwed on, and that you wouldn't necessarily see that, especially given that Kenwyne Jones' partner at the time is Muslim. Obviously, you can't like pork is forbidden, sort of thing. So it could have been received really poorly. I mean, it was like Jones lashed out and damaged the teammate's car, but you can't blame him for his response when such a ridiculous, crazy act has been done.
Yeah, it's mad because you got a picture of I can't remember which Stoke player it is, but literally holding the pig's head up by its ears, like in the change room. They're like,
Yeah, like what is this?
man,
Like, is this The Godfather? Like, what are we doing?
it's crazy to think, isn't it? I guess like back in the day, you had like Ashley Cole shooting people with a BB gun as well and all that stuff, but it's just a bit of an odd one altogether, isn't it?
It is. It really is.
But,
Where are you putting? Where are you pitching to put Kenwyne Jones as part of the Pete Barclays list?
do you know? I look back at Kenwyne Jones, and he's like one of those that's been in my head. That's probably why he's popped up so early because he's like cemented in my head as like proper Barclaysman. But I've got to put him below Yannick for me. You might disagree, but I feel like he's probably going to sit at the bottom of our list for the moment, unfortunately.
Yeah, I think so. I think it's been a nice one to mix it up with someone that maybe people haven't don't think about too often. But yeah, I think he slots in at number 5 for us now at the bottom of the list, but a worthy Pete Barclaysman.
Definitely 100%. We'll get our graphic up now, and as usual, if you have anyone you think we should be talking about Barclays wise, just get in contact with our socials, and yeah, then we'll move on to predictions. Okay, Tom, then we got our predictions. Where do we want to start? I think there's only one game on my mind we should probably start with.
Yeah, there's only one place to start, and I'll pitch it up for you. The FA Cup final, Palace v City, Saturday, 4:30 UK time.
Yeah, already getting paralysed with nerves to the point where, like, I'm sat there at work and I think about them. They're like, "Oh no, what am I doing? What am I doing? What am I doing?" I'm just hoping it's going to be a great day. Like, if we can have like the greatest day ever in our history, you probably won't see me for a week. Like, I'll be gone for a bit. But yeah, I don't know what other way to talk about. I want to talk about tactics, but I think that one-off game, anything could happen. We had like everything could happen in that one game against City at the Etihad. Went 2-0 up, should have been 3. Thought we were going to run away with it, and then to lose 5-2. There's so many ways to look into it. I think we could get beaten 6-0. We could beat them 3-0. We could go to penalties. Like, I have no idea what to expect. I don't know if you have any insight on it or anything like that, but I'm praying for a win. I guess that's my prediction, is praying for a win.
Yeah, I think Palace have got a good opportunity. I think I'm optimistic for you. I think the tactics, I think the learning curve from that recent defeat, and but also the positives that can be taken out from it. Like, you almost went 3-0 up. You almost, like, you've got a good record against City in general. I I think the tactics of it, how you're set up to counter attack, is perfect. Like, for you, obviously you're going to suffer at points. They're going to have a lot of possession, but if you can get that first goal, then who knows? I'm going to be bold, and this is more my heart for you than it is my head. But I'm going to go Palace 2-1.
God, I'd love that. I'd absolutely love that. Just to finally touch on that, Glasner said to Pep after the game where they beat us 5-2, he's like, "You best prepare because we'll be able to beat that next time." And I think that could be a quote that goes down in legend if we actually pull it off. But yeah, moving on to the Friday night game then in the Premier League, we have Villa Spurs. Mate, I think, can this be
Bit of
my
an
lock?
easy win.
Yeah, can this be my lock of the week? Just
Yeah,
taking
you can have this one for sure.
look of the week. If Spurs play like they did against us, it's going to be a bloodbath.
Yeah,
Like
Villa can run up the score in this one. I'm honestly going 3-0 Villa.
3-0. Mate, from what I saw, 6-0. 6-0, absolute drubbing. Because this will be before the final as well, won't it? So they won't
Yeah.
be taking any chances. Amazing that they tried not to take any chances and still ended up getting more players injured in our game over the weekend, which is, yeah, it just kind of shows you need to take football a bit more seriously. Then Everton Saints, quite an emotional game this is going to be for a lot of Everton fans with the last game at Goodison Park. I mean, I said before I'd love to have been up there for it, but I can't really see anything else than an Everton win myself, with the Toffees having hopefully a beautiful day for it.
Yeah, I hope this is an Everton win. The last game at Goodison, like as I mentioned last week, the last game at Upton Park lives long in West Ham memories. Obviously, being a 3-2 win over Man United, it's memorable as well for what happened on the pitch as well as the emotions of it. So, I think Everton against a Saints team who are off the Derby record, it can all be about Everton in this one. So yeah, I'm hoping it's a 2-0 home celebration.
Yeah, and I'm going to say if anyone's
I'm going to
interested,
lock that one up.
you locking that one up, nice. I was going to say anyone interested in making some money, I'd invest in blue flares right now. There's going to be a lot of them going off. Cool. And then moving on to West Ham Forest Sunday 2:15. How do you feel about your team's chances there?
I mean, Forest are out of form, but what better way to bounce back than against us, who would probably be on the beach. But I think it'll be a 1-1 draw.
Yeah, I don't know why. I think Forest might get that 1-0 win there and then bring it into that. I think the last game's the Chelsea game. So I think they might bring it in and that'd be a massive game for them. So yeah, that's probably my prediction there. Brentford Fulham. So we've got a West London derby on Sunday at 3.
I think I'm backing Brentford to make it 5 wins from 5. I tried to back Fulham last week and it backfired on me. Whenever I do, they don't get the results. So yeah, Brentford, they've been in such a good run. I just see them seeing out the season and getting one of those European spots. So I'm going Brentford 2-0.
See, this is the first one I think we're just going to disagree on. I think Fulham are going to do it because I think Brighton are going to get that last place over Brentford. I said it last week and I'm going to keep going for it. I think it's probably going to be a Fulham 2-0. I can see it for some reason at the G-Tech, like Brentford just not getting over the line with it, unfortunately. I hope my Brentford mates at work ain't listening to this because I'll probably get beaten. But yeah, then Leicester Ipswich, battle of 18th, I think you've got it down as. Bit of dead rubber.
Like, who's going to finish the best of the relegated three? I I think Leicester will do this one. I think at home, the taking some confidence from the away point that they got at Forest. I think I see this being a 2-1 Leicester win.
Yeah, I think I've spent too much time back in Ipswich to have their big performance for the end of the season. I'm going
Come
Leicester.
now.
Yeah, it will plainly come now, won't it? But yeah, I'm going Leicester 2-1, I think, for this one. And then going on Sunday, late game, the 4:30, Arsenal Newcastle. kind of a battle for Champions League, I guess, but it's more just Newcastle trying to basically cement that last Champions League space for them. I'm going to go for this one, probably a Newcastle 2-1 win. I think Arsenal are just going to implode a bit now with the end of their season. I think Newcastle are just going to have the bottle and the confidence after that big win against Chelsea to really get over the line.
Yeah, I think this will be a draw. I'm thinking a 1-1. That there've been some feisty clashes between these two teams in recent seasons, and away from home, I think Newcastle, having got that home win last year and being in a good last week and being in a good spot to get the Champions League, I think they'll take a point away at the Emirates. So yeah, 1-1 for that one.
Nice, cool. And then going into the weekday games, we have Brighton Liverpool on Monday night at 8 o'clock. I think Brighton probably get something out of this game. I don't think they go as far as winning it. I think maybe a score draw here, maybe a 2-2 with Liverpool just kind of just playing the games out now until they get the trophy left on the last day of the season. What about yourself?
I think I agree with you. A score draw for this one, and Brighton desperately trying to keep up with Brentford for the European spots. I'll go 3-3. Why not? Loads of goals.
Nice, yeah, I could see that as well. An exciting Monday night game. And then we'll touch on the Tuesday games as, like I said, if we win the cup, you may not be able to see me for a while, so we might have someone subbing in. But yeah, Palace Wolves, I'm just hoping this is one of the best nights at Selhurst ever where score doesn't matter and everyone's just celebrating what's happened on the Saturday night before. I think I've even said to my mum, like, it could be the greatest day at Selhurst just because of that. Like,
The celebrations will be starting all day, if that is like I'm sure everyone will be packing down to Selhurst from like noon and then just keeping the party going all evening. The result will be secondary, kind of regardless whatever happens on Saturday. The result of this one doesn't really matter for either team. No one's really looking at it. I think probably Wolves will win this one 1-0 because Palace won't be interested.
yeah, I don't think there'll be anything left in the tank, win or lose from us, so I can see Wolves 2-0. But I think win or lose, it'll be like a good day for the fans and we'll give the team a lot of respect. But yeah, I can't see us really winning that one, especially because we've got nothing to play for in the league either. But yeah, and then the last game, City Bournemouth on Tuesday at 8 o'clock also. I mean, I can only see a City win here myself, unfortunately, no matter what happens in the final, because they've got enough players to rotate it and they need to make sure they secure that Champions League spot. So I'm probably going to go for a City 3-0, and if I'm being brutally honest.
That's probably the smart play, but I'm going to go with a Bournemouth, another away upset after they got the Emirates win last weekend. I think I'm going to go another 2-1 away win for Bournemouth.
Nice.
They desperately need to keep up with Brentford and Brighton, so yeah, I think they might be able to do it, especially if City have any sort of cup hangover.
Cool. Okay, nice. Yeah. Cool. And that's everything for next week. Thank you for giving that time to vent a bit and get my mind off what's coming on later in the week, Tom. But yeah, if anyone wants to sort of follow us on socials at Instagram, TikTok, Blue Sky, and Reddit, we're at Other14FC Podcast. And if you want to get in contact with emails, I said earlier about maybe a peak Barclaysman or interest about where we come from and about the show, then it's Other14FC Podcast at gmail.com. But otherwise, up the Other 14, and I'll catch you next week, Tom, depending what state I'm in.
All the best for Saturday, mate.
Oh, cheers, buddy. Okay, I'll see you later.
Cheers.